Hello and welcome back to part 4 of your ACCA September 2024 examination, where I'm going to take you through my tutor analysis of the pre-C notes. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is James. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my free ACCA videos that are all designed to help you to pass your exam. And one way to do that is maybe using my exclusive notes. If you'd like access to them, you can download a copy yourself, click the link in the description and you can get yourself a copy. And along to helping you pass, you've got to be doing mock papers 2 times, and I'm delighted to say I'm associated with Stranti. Now, you can actually access their pre-scene analysis pack for completely free, or they also have mock papers on there, which is always for pure transparency on the channel. If you were to purchase any, I am affiliated with them, so I'd be entitled to a small commission which goes to supporting the YouTube channel. So thank you so much as always. I hope the notes help. I've got to stop saying hope because I know they're going to help you out. Just check these out on here, guys. They are so detailed for you. It did take a while to go through them, but this is where it's going to pay dividends as to your analysis on here. Let's kick off then. On here we have the industry key performance indicators are our next area that are just so critical that you are on top of these things because you haven't got time on the exam day to be going back and forward on there. So if we look on the side, I've given you a few little ticks and you can see 1X on there to say the driver satisfaction is the one area which, in terms of the key performance indicators, Beago needs to make improvements on because it's dropped in the past 5 years from 70% satisfied drivers down to 60%. This could also link into ethical areas about pay, safety provisions, level of support. It's one thing about the actual trade unions on there that could come into it, the ethics. That is something that I would definitely make sure that you've got it in the back of your mind when it comes to your exam. Also, one area that I get lots of questions on is, James, where do these link into other areas of the pre-C materials? And I'll take you down to page 13, but just get it down for your notes. When we see active customers, rides completed, revenue, if we just come down to the bottom there to page 13, again, if you've got these and you've downloaded them yourself, you can find it. But there are the KPIs and linking it to the graphs. Again, revenue increasing, active customers increasing, number of rides completed increasing. And we'll come on to the point up above, but the net promoter score at the bottom left there's been a key change as to Beago in the last year has had their points actually increase from 37 to 38, but the industry average has actually dropped on there. And that's all about loyalty, customer satisfaction. So Beago, again, because they only operate in Beeland, they're doing something right there in terms of looking after their customers and providing them with a good service. The other areas to note down on here are, can you see on the left hand side, I've got the number of active drivers. We're given the graph for the number of active customers, but there was no graph provided for the number of active drivers. Again, just something to put in your notes, could throw up on the exam day, just to be aware of. In terms of revenue, the diversification of income, it's getting more spread out, but they're still heavily reliant on flagging down taxis and people just booking taxis as their main income source. So again, when we come on to that later on into the recordings, just be aware 3/4 of their revenue currently comes from one actual field. Okay, regulation. This is imperative that you get this down because it can relate to so many different areas. It's only 2 paragraphs, but you've got a pestle legal factor there with no overall standards. There are overlaps, a variety of areas and risks on there. So this is where, let me just read it to you. There are currently no overall standards to which all TNCs in Beeland should adhere to in terms of operational requirements, technology and data security, driver status or environmental impact expectations. From a pestle theory perspective, you've got a legal factor in there, you've got an environmental factor in there and a technology factor in there for you to discuss and pulling in other areas from the unseen information. That is, of course, if it was to be tested. I don't have a crystal ball, but there are lots of feelers out there to say, hang on a second, there's possibility there. So make sure you've got those 3 elements down in your notes. In terms of other countries, so this is not in Beeland, but a possibility for drivers to set up trade unions and for driver networks. Again, that can link into those ethical points I just touched on up above. So drivers are treated, at the moment, they're not recognised as employees on there. So the particular country's legal system, recognising through the employment laws and rights and status, they'd be entitled to sick pay, holiday pay on there. Again, it's coming back to that Uber case in 2021. You've just got to be on your toes for it. They've mentioned it a few times about the drivers not being employees of the company and the reasons behind it. So it could overlap into other areas to consider. Beago overview now in terms of the background. Some of these areas we've touched on, but the bits in purple are the key things for you to get down. Remember and apply their names in your answers if it links to the requirement. But you've got Ed Foss and Kim Lee, the original two work colleagues who actually founded and managed the business in Beeland when it was established 12 years ago. As we've seen before, it's a mature company, but they've got the Beeland experience from being in that working mindset. They've lived and worked there, they've seen the problems, and that's how they've developed the Beago, shall I say, the mobile app from their experience and their expertise, because they were looking for a convenient and cost-effective mode of transport on there. Then after starting out with just ride sharing and ride hailing, they then branched out into other income streams like business rides and bicycles on there. But it's worth noting again, on the right hand side, they have no service customer rentals at the moment in Beago for it. So again, a massive opportunity for a SWOT analysis point on there. In the early days, this is where we've got Kim and Ed were the founders on there, but because the company is now listed, we've got capital structure points on the side here about the demand was getting more and more increasing, and then over the next few years they were supported financially by several venture capitalists on there. It's grown rapidly, and a nice key fact at the bottom there could link into an economic factor of your pestle analysis now. It all comes down to Beago grew rapidly by the end of 2003 and had 16 million active customers. It's predicted to have 19 by the end of 2004. So again, economic factor of pestle and other factors to maybe increase their revenue in different areas. So when we say 19 million, if we look on the diagram up in the top right now, Beago registered and active customers. I've put the little line on there with the 19 just so you can see how it's going up really consistently on there, and it's only a positive, where as the number of cities of Beago operates in, we were told they're up to 250 cities on page 2. It's all looking pretty positive on there, and Beago I think have got that real niche of just being a local business operating nationally. I say local business because they're in all these different cities, and they have that good relationship with the local authorities that they need the licenses for. Beago was listed on the stock exchange 5 years ago on there. So we're looking at, I've got it down as 20W9, could be 20W8, but what we're getting at there is since it's been listed, it's only gone up one way. The capital structure breakdown, 80% are large institutional investors, 10% by the original founders, Ed and Kim on there, and 10% held by small private investors. That could link into some agency theory points. Again, just something to bear in mind at the back of your head as to areas that you could throw in and discuss there as to what do the investors want versus what do the board of directors want. We now have as well services offered by Beago. Breakdown on there, we've got the other opportunities on page 6. So what I'm getting at here is, key thing for your notes, no service customer rentals for Beago, first of all, and we currently don't have any other opportunities for services to provide. So opportunities in terms of the business services growing, micromobility growing, but the other opportunities what I'm getting there on page 6 are those you can see on the screen above me: food delivery, driverless and electric vehicles on there. Those are the 3 other areas where they've not explored, and again could come down to some of your theories. And just coming back up to those services, when I say service customer rentals, it's just where my mouse is up at the top. That is in terms of renting vehicles, which I think we have the other competitors within the market are currently taking out those pieces of revenue. But again, a massive opportunity for Beago to take advantage of. Customers demanding a more environmentally friendly organisation now, so they're looking at the different ways to actually come up with a better transport solution. But we have on here, I've got the key bit of note this down. Currently, over 70% of Beago's revenues are generated from ride-hailing services. Again, refer to that particular, well, 72% in this case. Refer to that within your answers if they want you to talk about revenues on that. Micromobility, this is interesting in how they've actually made strategic decisions about their business. So the micromobility is about going into the market for bicycles that they've actually put onto their app as well. And it links into Porter's 5 Forces point from a competitive rivalry acquisition. They didn't just go into it blindly or try to do it themselves. They acquired a competitor in the market on there. They've already had the infrastructure, and it currently has 11% of the revenue. The interesting thing is that the micromobility, the bikes, actually operate in only 100 cities, whereas the taxis, the Uber model that they have, operates in 250 cities. Again, you've got to be thinking, well, what sort of capital and revenue expenditure could we go about? That's another opportunity in our SWOT analysis to grow that revenue greater than 11%. Maybe we might get some competitor information on it as well, but just to be aware of, it has 9 million active users in its micro-mobility services on there, out of the 16 active users, or 16 million active users altogether. So there's definitely scope on there to get more customers to try the bikes. Business services now, 5% of the revenues. A SWOT analysis again, major opportunity. And we have on here, this explains the increases of business services revenues on page 13 from the contracts. So they've had a contract in the last 2 years or so, meetings, customers on there. But remain personal customers is what I'm getting at. You've got these business people who are using the services for business. Why don't we get them as a personal customer on top of it? So again, just thinking outside the box, looking at the different revenue streams and applying your SBL knowledge. In terms of technology used by Beago, again, for your notes, I'm sure you've already got it down, but the technology factors here from a pestle analysis theory application are just crying out for it. They've got nearly a full page on websites, the apps, the payment processing system, GPS software. I'm just going to take you through my key notes on here, where we're going to interact with the customers and the drivers, front-ended technology, and they're using more than one area of technology here, which is great. It's a sophisticated system on there, better than monthly than others provide, so they pay their drivers weekly on there. So again, trying to satisfy the drivers. They've got more customers growing, but then it comes on to the other areas about data and the efficiencies now and the customer and driver database. So it's efficient, all in one place. Beago had a data breach or systems when, but I'm saying there is, what if that was to happen? So what if on your exam day there was a breach of data, or systems went down, or there was a leak on there? What would that have in terms of an impact on the business itself? And the GPS software, fantastic technology point, great quality software to retain customers, but then what if the live locations of where people lived and where they were going were all leaked online? From an ethical point of view, what stakeholders would that impact? And again, coming back to the technology part of Pestle. And last but not least, the part at the bottom here for the Beago commercial agreement with a Beamland cloud-based services provider. This shows that they've actually got some of these resources done externally to the business. Key specific case study point here as to deliver and host the Beago technology platform. So it has that commercial agreement with a Beamland-based cloud-based services provider. What if something was to happen to that provider, that their computer systems were compromised? It's really good to see from a quality perspective, they're continually improving and updating in real time, using machine learning. Again, the technology point of Pestle there, just saying to you, should be on there. And from a strategic perspective, Looking at the board of directors now, Beago relies significantly on technology to attract new drivers and customers. Video, social media, email, search engine optimization. But could it be their Achilles heel if something went wrong and that sort of technology went against them and actually drove away customers and drove away drivers on there? Last but not least, the bit at the bottom. Examiners love it when you quote the scenario applicably and in the correct context in your exam. And the one at the bottom there, Beago's marketing messages, we go with Beago. Refer to it. Customers may even become drivers themselves. But if you're making a point in your exam and if it agrees with that, make it. If it disagrees with that, make it. Because that is their ethos, those values that you can just see at the bottom, which we can refer to, and it's only going to get you some extra marks come the exam on there. Well, that nicely brings us onto Beago's staff and the end of part 4 now. So make sure you subscribe so that you get access to the next video. If you want to download my notes, the link is down there, also with the Strantes mock papers and packs, so check those out, guys, and I'll see you on the other side now. I've put the videos up at the top for part 5, so thank you very much.